Hi Whovians, Harry here, and welcome to my breakdown of the Doctor Who Season 1 trailer. That is right, Doctor Who recently released a trailer for their new upcoming series, the new reboot of Doctor Who, which of course is going by Season 1. And this trailer was just bonkers. So this video will be going over breaking down all the hidden Easter eggs and details in that trailer. And I won't be going over the trailer in its entirety, so if you want to watch the trailer, I will put a link to it down in the descriptions below, so check that out if you want to watch it. And also I did a reaction to this trailer as well, which I will put in the description and also up in the cards above. Now, so if you want to watch my reaction of it, check out that video, but this video will be going over just all the Easter eggs and details in that trailer. So, let's get into the trailer, but before we do, don't forget to subscribe, also leave a like and comment down below, and let's get in to the trailer. So, the trailer opens with the TARDIS landing in Unit Tower, and of course Unit Tower was last seen in The Giggle. Unit played actually quite a big part. Of course the 14th Doctor regenerated or bigenerated on Unit Tower on the helipad, and that's where the 15th Doctor was kind of born into existence. And in this shot, just before the TARDIS basically obscures the whole screen, Rose Noble can be seen in the background, so she is also later seen in the trailer in Unit HQ, so it seems like Rose Noble will have quite a big part in at least one episode of Season 1 whenever the Doctor and Ruby get to Unit Tower. And then, after a few bits of reused footage, the TARDIS crashes into the Sunday's flat. And you can see from the picture that it can't actually fit into the Sunday's flat, and it destroys the ceiling. And, of course, the Sundays aren't having much luck because the ceiling was also wrecked in the episode The Church on Ruby Road when the goblins cracked the ceiling on Christmas Eve. And then after some more reused footage, there are a few clips of the Doctor just flashing through. First of all is the Doctor in his 60s era costume. Of course, this is the episode, of course, set in the 60s with the Doctor and Ruby visiting the Beatles. And he seems to be in this kind of weird room, and he's looking pretty surprised or horrified, so there's obviously something major going on there. Maybe this is Jinx Monsoon's character revealing herself to him. And then we switch to another shot of him in this sort of robe type thing, which is very Star Wars, he's got kind of a Jedi robe on. And whenever I see this type of robe, I just always think of Star Wars for some reason, and also the back setting of the certain drapes they have gives me very Tatooine vibes, but obviously is probably just Star Wars is so mainstream, you just think of that whenever you see robes and that type of material. But also, instead of just Jedi robes, it also looks like monks' robes as well. And we've already seen the Doctor wearing monk's robes, as we saw the 11th Doctor as a monk in the episode The Bells of St. John. And we also saw the first Doctor wear monk's robes in the episode The Time Meddler. And that's a crucial part to pick up on, because this is also the first time in The Time Meddler where the Doctor met the meddling monk. And of course the meddling monk is a fan favourite character that hasn't made his way out of the first Doctor era, but we are seeing a kind of resurgence of that because we just saw the Celestial Toymaker, which was a first Doctor villain, so maybe we'll get to see the meddling monk, and this is a kind of allusion to that. And then the final flash through of the Doctor's outfits, it shows him in his Regency era costume, and next to him is the face of David Tennant. And David Tennant, he just can't stay away from Doctor Who. However, just looking at the way like his face seems, it seems like a bit younger than the 14th Doctor. So I think this is the 10th Doctor's face. But I'm not entirely sure. But I am sure of behind the 15th Doctor and the 10th Doctor's face, there is David Tennant's face on the screens behind him as well. So maybe the Doctor is like being scanned because there's like a light screen, like a light grid on him. So maybe they're scanning him and they're going through some of the Doctor's faces, saying like, this is the Doctor. Maybe they only have, I think it's probably the 10th Doctor, but maybe they're thinking, but maybe it is the 14th Doctor, and he's like brought up, oh, like, this is the face of the Doctor, how we last knew him, you must have regenerated again. So maybe the Doctor is being scanned, but all I know is that David Tennant's face is definitely by the 15th Doctor. And then we get some more reused shots before the Mavity in the TARDIS goes weird, and the Doctor and Ruby are kind of like flung sideways. We've never seen this in the TARDIS before. The TARDIS is always a like bumpy ride, but we've never seen this before. Of course, we saw in Doomsday, we saw in Doomsday that the 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler got kind of pulled sideways when the Doctor turned the Void in and like sucked all the Daleks and Cybermen back in, but the Doctor and Rose were also being sucked in, and they got like turned sideways. And also the same thing happened to the 11th Doctor, Amy and River, in the episode Flesh and Stone, when the Doctor turned off the gravity so that the Weeping Angels would get sucked into the crack in time. So, might be nothing, but just something to think of. And then next, we go into a dinosaur era, and I am surprised that we haven't done this with Doctor Who before, but maybe because it wouldn't look so good. It looks amazing, this shot. It just looks so amazing, and I can't wait for some dinosaur hijinks. But will we get them? Because we see Ruby worrying about stepping on a butterfly, because of course she's gone back in time, and that's just a thing that everyone knows, the butterfly effect. And the same worry that's brought up by Ruby was brought up by Martha in the Shakespeare Code, and also by Bill in Thin Ice. However, unfortunately, Ruby does step on the butterfly, and she changes into what I think looks like a Silurian Sea Devil hybrid. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but it does look very Silurian and Sea Devil, and this would kind of make sense because Silurians and Sea Devils actually live on Earth, and they are reptilian creatures, and maybe if humans hadn't become the dominant species, Silurians and Sea Devils would have, and maybe they would have mated, and the resulting creation would be how Ruby looks like. But maybe I'm looking too much into it. But apparently there is supposed to be a Silurian Sea Devil spin-off in the works. So maybe this is a, reference to that. And then we move into the next shot, which is a spaceship. And the spaceship looks a little bit like the one from The End of Time Part 2 that belonged to the Vimvoci. It's got a bit more on it than the spaceship that we saw in The End of Time Part 2, but it is obviously very reminiscent of that, at least what I think. But then moving past that, next we see Indira Varman's character, the Duchess, and she has a secret that she is hiding because we see her transform into this bird-like alien. It's kind of referencing how Ruby changed from human to reptilian. The way like in the Duchess changes from human to like this bird-like alien, but it is definitely well, it looks very bird-like to me, so I can't wait to see what happens with that. But also, it is worth mentioning that Indira Varman has appeared in the universe before, as she played Susie Costello in the Torchwood episodes Everything Changes, and then she was brought back in the episode They Keep Killing Susie. So Indira Varman has returned, and she will join the likes of Karen Gillan, Peter Capaldi, and Colin Baker in actors that have actually appeared in the universe before, playing different characters. So can't wait to see what this character is going to be like, and how much it differs from her, from how she portrayed Susie in the Torchwood episodes. And the next shot is this old woman screaming. And actually, this old woman is a cameo by June Hudson, who was the costume designer for the Fourth Doctor's era. So that is a really cool thing for the Doctor Who crew to do, to, put in a cameo for someone who worked on the past of the, worked on the past of Doctor Who in the Fourth Doctor's era, because, of course, Doctor Who is a legacy show, so that's really nice for them to put in this cameo of June Hudson. And then, moving on past that, we get a quick look at Jinx Monsoon's character, which is theorised to be like the music maker or something like that, but obviously she has a very piano-themed outfit. And then, after that quick look, we see Ruby firing a gun. And to me, that is weird, because the Doctor doesn't like guns. It's mentioned time and time again that he doesn't like guns. However, in the background of this shot of Ruby firing the gun, the Doctor can be seen in the background on a landmine. This is the landmine episode where the Doctor gets trapped because he accidentally stepped on a landmine. So maybe Ruby's protecting him from, creatures on this world that want to kill them. So it could be like a situation as in Ruby has no choice but to fire this gun to protect the Doctor. And there are a couple of people by the Doctor. Maybe they're helping to defuse the landmine or something, and maybe Ruby's protecting them too, or they're protecting the Doctor on the lower level. And then there is a shot of someone or something inside a drum. And it is probably just that, Jinx Monsoon's character has trapped someone in the drum, or, she's emerging from the drum. But to me, it looks a bit like when the adipose popped out of people in the episode Partners in Crime, or when the clone Martha rose from the goo in the episode The Sontaran Stratagem. It's very reminiscent of that to me, and I will just mention, of course, because it's Russell T Davies, the Sim Master, who of course appeared throughout the 10th Doctor's era, had a drum beat in his head, and it was a big part of his character, with one episode literally being called The Sound of Drums. So maybe it's an allusion to that, just something I thought I would mention. But moving past that, next we see some girl pass the slug alien, which we have seen in filming photos. We don't get a good look at it in this trailer because we only see the side of it, but of course this is something that has been very public filming in this episode. And then we see a blue light in a street lamp, and to me it looks a bit like the Gelf from The Unquiet Dead, because they took on blue gaseous forms and they got sucked in by the gas from the street lights. So maybe they're back. Of course, this was a RTD villain in his first era, so maybe they'll be back. And over this shot of the blue street lamp is Kate Stewart saying, "Things seem to be turning more and more supernatural." And of course, it has kind of happened ever since the 14th Doctor cast Salt at the edge of the universe in the episode Wild Blue Yonder. More supernatural things have started to happen, of course, because that Salt cast caused the Toymaker to enter the universe, and he said at the end of the giggle when he was defeated that his legions were coming. Goblins, of course, are a more supernatural thing, and this trailer has just been going bonkers with a lot of things that would not have been seen before in Doctor Who. So maybe this supernatural thing, the Doctor has to stop all these supernatural things coming through in this upcoming series to kind of atone for what he did as the 14th Doctor when he cast Salt at the edge of the universe. But moving past that, then we get a shot of someone in a black cloak. And there have been many theories about what this is about, but I think it's like hinted in a way that is Ruby's mum. So at least the Doctor is going to go back to the time when Ruby's mum left her on the church doorstep, as we saw in the episode The Church on Ruby Road. Because it's like set at Christmas, she's dressed in the same like black cloak as we saw in the church on Ruby Road. So maybe Ruby will find out why her mum left her there, or at least the Doctor will, and maybe Ruby's mum has some supernatural element to her, because of course this is a big question from the church on Ruby Road that we need answers to. And then in the next scene, we see Ruby ask the Doctor, "Is that a monster?" when they're in this like spaceship, to which the Doctor replies, "No, don't be silly. There's no such thing as monsters. It's just creatures you haven't met yet." Which is such a Doctor thing to say. Ncuti is really settling into the role of the Doctor really fast, which is great to see. However, then it is undercut a little bit, but it's funny that the creature emerges and like screams at them, and the Doctor and Ruby scream and run away, because the Doctor does end up running away a lot from the creatures that he sees in his travels, but it's just a bit funny to go from a really Doctor thing to say to running for their lives. But hey, isn't that not a Doctor thing too? But moving past that shot, then in Unit Tower, a soldier opens the door for Kate Stewart, Rose Noble, Morris, which is Lenny Rush's character, who is said to be a unit scientific advisor, a bit like Osgood and Shirley, and then also the 15th Doctor and either Mal or Ruby. I don't know whether it's Mal or Ruby because that character is actually stood behind the Doctor. There could be other characters hidden, maybe stood behind like Kate and Rose, but I could see like a arm like sticking out from behind the Doctor. So obviously this is obviously a very unit-centered episode though, because they're in Unit Tower, and there is Kate obviously who works for Unit, Mal maybe who works for Unit, Morris, who works for Unit, and maybe Rose is... Maybe it's a bring your daughter into work day, because we saw in the giggle that Kate Stewart offered Donna a job, so maybe Rose is helping out in some capacity. I don't know. And then in the next shot, there are some planets, like, seemingly getting covered in, like, this sand. And there was a sandstorm earlier in this trailer, so maybe this is part of it. But also, as I mentioned before, Star Wars, Tatooine, obviously sand-covered planet, a lot of sand is Star Wars. Maybe this is an allusion to that because, of course, just the week before Doctor Who Season 1 airs is, of course, May the 4th, which is Star Wars Day. But maybe I'm just looking too much into it, but it seems like this sand, or whatever it is devastating the planet, which we may get a look at later in this trailer. But before we get a look at that, we see the Doctor in space, in his TARDIS, and he screams in anguish into the void of space. I don't know whether he's seeing this sandstorm, whether he's seeing something else, but it looks like that he is quite distressed. However, we then get a kind of nice, segue into a quick shot of a tune fork hitting water. Of course, a tune fork which helps sound waves hitting water. You can see the ripples from actually sound when it hits the water. So maybe this is something to do with the Doctor's scream, but it lines up pretty well. But maybe that's just, is edited together in a way to look nice. Maybe this has something to do with the Beatles or Jinx Monsoon's character, but it's quite a nice visual. And then we see the TARDIS console sparking while the Doctor pulls wires from it. Maybe the TARDIS has been taken over by some malevolent force and he is trying to shut it down, or maybe the Doctor is trying to fix it by pulling wires out, but the TARDIS is definitely, there is something bad going on with it, and it is not having a good time from having coffee chucked over it, and now it is sparking in this trailer. The TARDIS is not looking good, and it does not get any better for it in this trailer. But before we get into that, the next shot is a scene of a destroyed London, with the Doctor and Ruby looking devastated. And this is actually the Beatles episode, as the Doctor and Ruby are in their 60s era costumes. And maybe this is the destruction that the sand was doing, covering the planets that we just saw a moment ago in the trailer. But maybe it's something different, but London is just totally destroyed. It doesn't look that much different from how it is nowadays, but I didn't say anything. But it is definitely a lot worse for wear, and it has been destroyed, and it is just a monotone grey throughout the whole thing, and it has obviously shaken the Doctor and Ruby to their core, as you can just see by their reactions in this scene. And then we see Ruby bound in music, probably due to Jinx Monsoon's character, and over this, Carla asks the Doctor to keep Ruby safe. And that is obviously a concern for these parents. It is the same concern that Jackie had in the episode World War III, when she asked the Doctor the same to keep Rose safe, and he couldn't give her an answer. However, this Doctor promises to keep Ruby safe. And maybe this might be his undoing, because we know that Ruby will have a couple of episodes in season 2, but then she'll be out of it. Maybe she'll die. I hope she doesn't, but we have had just 4 companions leave of their own accord and have, quite happy lives. So this has to be a concern that Ruby might die. But speaking of Ruby, there are a few rapid shots of Ruby, each of them looking different, and it might just be me, but it seems like she is getting older, especially in the last shot of her. But maybe I'm just looking too much into it. But following on from that, we then get a shot of something crashing through the Abbey Road recording studio glass. Maybe this is an attempt on the Beatles. I don't know. And then, sticking with Ruby, over this, Ruby says, "It's taken me all this time to realise what I'm meant to do. I'm going to save the world." And this hints that maybe she is destined to save the world, like Rose with the Bad Wolf entity, Donna with the Meta Crisis, and Clara with the Impossible Girl arc. So maybe Ruby will have the same destined arc to save the world. But the way Ruby describes her revelation is similar to the way that the 11th Doctor realised that he wanted to go home in the episode The Day of the Doctor. So some parallels actually between Ruby and the Doctor there. And it seems like this is the Ruby section of the trailer, because we then get some more shots of Ruby, with one of her in snow and another in a barren wasteland with a planet in the sky. And maybe this barren wasteland planet in the sky is the same as the sand that was destroying the planets, because it seems like she is in this area. and the one with snow, maybe this is like an illusion that she will see her mother, because it was obviously snowing in the church on Ruby Road when her mother left her on the doorstep of the church. And then moving past that, we get into a non-Ruby shot, when we see the Doctor and Mal on a moped. This is likely from the finale episode of season 1, so maybe this is the unit episode since we see Mal. And speaking of unit, back in Unit Tower, it seems like the TARDIS is being scanned. There is a green light on it, and in the background on one of the unit screens, there is S Triad, and that can be seen on the screen. And Triad was first and last mentioned in the Giggle by Mal, and it is stated to play a big part in the upcoming series. And we know that this is going to be a big part because Susan Triad is one of the many names given to Susan Twist, a mysterious character for this era. And Susan Triad, or Susan Twist, is the character that we saw in Wild Blue Yonder when she played Miss Merridew, maybe like when in Wild Blue Yonder, where she was either like the housekeeper or the groundskeeper or servant to Sir Isaac Newton. And she also played the woman in this woman in just the bar in the pub in the church on Ruby Road when she shouted at Ruby's band. And also, with the TARDIS being scanned in this scene and us seeing S Triad, if you rearrange the the letters of S Triad, it spells out TARDIS. So maybe Susan Twist or Susan Triad, whatever she's going to go by, will be able to destroy or manipulate the TARDIS. Because it's definitely saying something when the TARDIS is being scanned, and that is seen in the background. And as I alluded to earlier in this video, it doesn't get any better for the TARDIS in this trailer. But before that, the Doctor and Ruby can be seen in this weird, light room with snow falling. Maybe this is an allusion to the church on Ruby Road when it was snowing, but just because it's snowing doesn't mean anything about that. So maybe just looking too much into it. But back to Abbey Road Studios, the Doctor and a whole cast of other characters can be seen singing. And there have been rumours of a musical episode, so this is probably it. But it looks like they are having a ton of fun. Maybe they are singing a Beatles song because the Beatles have been erased from time and it's destroying London. So maybe they're trying to make everyone in the world remember the Beatles again. But I'm just so excited to see what that is going to be like. It's definitely going to be a crazy episode. But moving into something maybe even more crazy, we see a scene of the TARDIS on a cliff top with moss and reeds all grown around it, and it seems to be dead. We have seen a dead TARDIS before, like in The Doctor's Wife, and also most notably in The Night of the Doctor, where we saw the Doctor's grave. And speaking of grave, it looks like some of the flowers have been placed there. So maybe the TARDIS is being used as a shrine for people to remember the Doctor and pay their respects, or maybe it's just a shrine for the TARDIS itself for people to pay respects to it. I just want to know what's happening. How is the TARDIS died? How is where's the Doctor? Where's Ruby? It's crazy. But in Wild Blue Yonder, the 14th Doctor wondered if the TARDIS would land on an outcrop by the sea. And in this scene, where is the TARDIS? Of course, it is by the sea. And to close out the trailer, we get a few quick shots. The first one is Ruby, and she can be seen in this black room with a setup of lights in front of her, a bit like we saw her beforehand with the Doctor, but this setup looks a bit more like the setup in Turn Left that helped Donna travel back in time in that episode. So maybe Ruby is doing the same thing and she has to travel back in time without the help of the TARDIS. So maybe that's something. And then we move back to Unit Tower, where we see Kate Stewart, Colonel Ibrahim, of course, from The Giggle, and Rose Noble. Of course, Kate and Rose have been seen many times throughout this trailer, and Colonel Ibrahim last made his appearance in The Giggle along with Kate and Rose, and of course, Unit Tower. And then we get to see a quick shot of the Doctor and Mal on the moped again. Again, this is probably from the finale. And the last scene in this trailer is the same as the teaser, which is the Doctor in his 60s era costume breaking the fourth wall by winking at the camera. And of course, as I explained in that video, we see Mrs. Flood break the fourth wall in the episode The Church on Ruby Road, the First Doctor break it in The Feast of Stephen, and the 12th Doctor break it in the episode Before the Flood. And then, to finish this trailer, the TARDIS flies down the middle, cutting to a silver logo of Doctor Who. Now, that is crazy. I didn't expect so many details in just a 2-minute trailer of Doctor Who, but if this is what we are getting, I am so hyped for it, so excited. I just can't wait for May the 11th. It can't come soon enough. It was just, whoa, there was a lot in this trailer. It was bonkers. But that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Are you excited for Doctor Who? How did you think this trailer looked? And can you not wait for Doctor Who like me? Let me know down in the comments below. And also, if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like, also subscribe, and share it out. And I will see you in the next one.